Hey team, welcome back. So in this video, I'm going to be explaining how we can actually utilize the distance sensor and how we need to program it. So I'm going to open a new project, I'm going to go to WordBlocks, and since this is just a demo, kind of sort of explain things, I'll just call it distance sensor. But remember, you should be naming it whatever project you are currently working on, right? And I've explained a little bit before, but go to sensors, these light blue blocks, and then look for your sensor or something that looks like your sensor on these blue blocks. And then always use the one that kind of looks like a trapezoid. Just makes your life a little bit easier. And just like with all of our sensors, this block here is essentially useless right now. I can't connect it to anything. So I'm going to go to Control, and then here I have all of these options with the funny looking shape over here. But I'm just going to use wait until. We'll get into the other blocks later. I don't want to give you too much too soon. So again, I hover over top, and I click and drag it, and then now you notice that that shape changes color, so I can insert it there. So I have a wait until block, and I have a wait until whatever the sensor's doing. So you can select whatever port your sensor is in, depending on what challenge you're doing or what application you're trying to use this sensor for. Maybe you want to send something, within a certain distance or something further than a certain distance. So I'm just going to, I'll change it just for the sake of it, and change it for centimeters. So right now, I could go to movement. I could set my movement motors to whatever they are. I could set my speed to whatever it is. I could set, my sensor there, and then I could have it, go forward for a certain number of rotations, and then stop and exit program, right? So it's going to run this program, set your motor, set your speed, and nothing's going to happen until it senses something greater than 15 centimeters, and then it's going to go forward, right? I could have it where all I do is I just, turn on, so I can move forward until I sense something further than or even closer than 15 centimeters or however far I set, and then I could stop and exit program, right? I always typically put a 1 second wait block before we usually start the program. Just let your robot kind of sort of settle. I could change it from, reverse. There's a lot of different things that I could utilize these blocks for, right? You could also have two chains going on kind of at the same time, where I could have, so we'll drag that back in. I could have something where, take all those out. If I have it closer than 10 centimeters, then, a smiley face will turn on for 2 seconds. And then I could stop and exit program, right? I also, if I right-click duplicate, I could have it where if it's farther than, 30 centimeters, then it'll make a smiley face for 2 seconds. So this is where I'm kind of sort of making like a little quote-unquote dead zone. So if it's anything less than 10, it'll go off, and anything greater than 30, it'll go off. But if I go, 11 to 29, nothing is going to happen, right? So I'll drag those two over. And then it's also super important if I go to events that instead of having when program starts, I could have the distance sensor start the program, right? So I could have it where if it senses something closer than, 10 centimeters, then I could have, so I could go to events and just set my motors and speed, and then over here I could have the meat of the code, right? So this is kind of just setting our parameters, and this is where the actual function is going to be, right? So if something's closer than, then I can move forward for a certain number or a certain distance. I could stop and wait, and then I could do my turn, whatever I kind of need to do. But this allows you to have more control over your actions, and it's also taking your machine, which is really what our robot was, or what our Lego thing was, until we started adding these sensors. So up until through Orchard, it was more like a machine just listening blindly. But now, since we use the force sensor and now the distance sensor, we're able to actually have it think and interact with its environment, which is really kind of taking it to the next level. Alright, hopefully this was helpful, and I will see you in the next video. Good luck.